Welcome back, everyone. No surprise, but a recent national poll, a number of them actually, indicate that Americans are more concerned about health care than any other issue. It could be immigration, it could be military complex, it could be the economy, health care. And if you've watched any of the debates recently, you realize that it's usually the topic that they start with and they spend the longest amount of time on. Joining me today, somebody I met more than a couple of years ago now, is Angelo Calbone, who is the president and CEO of Saratoga Hospital. Welcome, Ange.
Good to be here.
Nice to have you here. We got a long agenda to go through, and so I'm going to start with just this overall sense of how healthcare is changing in this country. Used to be when I was younger, both of us probably, right? Mm-hmm. Went to the hospital, taken care of, and you'd leave the hospital. It's much more complex now, in many ways, right?
Very, very much. I'm certain we do not have enough time to do justice to that comment.
I bet.
But you're right. It has become a topic at every level. The complexity of care that we try to support and sustain in this country, the level of services, the medical interventions, the drug interventions, are so expensive that it is placing a burden on our economy and on individuals. We're all questioning, can that continue? Can that be supported? So that's changing how society is going to want us to act and how they are going to want us to live in our communities. There is a lot of work underway that came out of the Affordable Care Act and out of insurance changes to build systems so that people use less expensive care, that when you're here, you're not here as long, and that there's community support that you don't necessarily need to come back to us. People have experienced some of these things, but it is accelerating. If you look at some institutions around the country that are farther down the road than I think the capital region, you'll find that people use hospitals much less. They're managed on an outpatient basis at a much higher degree. And the most expensive interventions are now, we're attempting to manage those much more aggressively. We still have the most expensive health system in the world. We certainly use healthcare to a higher level than most places in the world. So just the cost of supporting what's been created and the level of expectations that people have of the healthcare system is going to keep it in conversation for the rest of our lives.
Boy, I bet. And that's a two-pronged approach. You have to maintain, you have to control internal costs, but you also have to reach out into the community more, right?
Right.
You need partnerships. You need collaboration. And that was one of the things that struck me when I was reviewing the notes for this interview. And I'll talk about a couple of examples. Let's go to Malta first, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Years ago, very proactive on your part, partnered with Albany Med, I believe, right?
Right.
In Malta. And that partnership has now grown to include an orthopedic group, right? And also the Y.
And frankly, in a larger sense, we now are organizationally affiliated with the Albany Medical Center. Mm-hmm. And if you look back at that arrangement that we created years ago right. In Malta, that was really the start of us learning about each other, the two organizations coming to understand who we are, what our goals and strategies were, and found out that culturally we were very aligned and could be complementary, and led to the larger affiliation that we now have with the Albany Medical Center. But you're right, when you look at the property in Malta, it's a great property, probably the best location in the county. Everything that we have done there and now are proposing to do has been a collaboration. The Malta Med is a collaboration with the Albany Medical Center. Recently, we have brought the YMCA, onto the property. We share that building with them. They run their Y. That's their service. We don't own or operate that in any way. But we took part of the building with them to place services that we thought would be complementary. We have sports medicine, physical therapy, a therapy pool, and we're continuing to develop the space to bring other specialties that we think could be complementary and attractive to the public that they bring in. It's perfect. We think it's the right thing, the right time, and we're really thrilled with it. Very soon we're going to be breaking ground to construct a dedicated orthopedic outpatient surgery center on the property, right next to Multimed. And again, that is a collaborative investment with the Albany Medical Center and Capital Region Orthopedics. Probably take about a year to build. Again, big picture, more and more orthopedic surgery is moving to the outpatient realm. 25 years ago, if you were admitted for a joint replacement, you may be with us for 10 days to 2 weeks. We are now doing joint replacements on an outpatient basis and sending people home at the end of the day.
Boy, is that ever a proactive look at healthcare, right, Ange?
But it's if you had talked to someone 20 years ago, they would have said that's impossible, that would never happen. It's being done safely, and people appreciate the fact that they can get home.
Right.
So we now need to accommodate that, or else we'll lose the opportunity to provide that level of service. Orthopedic groups around the country are doing this by themselves, developing centers. This was an opportunity to kind of stay in the game and do it as a collaborative effort. So we are a participant with Albany Medical Center and Capital Region. So as this change becomes, not just a small sample, but really becomes the predominant way that orthopedic surgery is performed, that'll still remain a part of Saratoga Hospital. So everything down there will have been a collaborative effort, very interestingly.
MOC was a new term to me, Medical Office Center.
Yes.
I'm thinking out at Wilton, and I may not get my terms exactly right here, so you bear with me. But I was reading just a lot of investment here at the main building, but also a lot of investment at Wilton. And at that time, that was pioneering as well. I remember when that went in. My doctor was located at Wilton. And so explain to us a couple of the investments that you made there.
We've made a good number of investments there, but Wilton's a part of a larger kind of strategic shift that the organization started committing to a number of years ago.
Many years ago. Right.
And that was to become the healthcare provider for the broader region, not simply Saratoga Springs as a city. So we needed to geographically locate multiple locations. We're now all over the county. We're actually even outside the county in some instances, but we're from Schuylerville to Galway to Mechanicville to Scotia. Wilton was the first big play. It's turned out to be a very successful investment for the institution. We have primary care physicians there, diagnostics, lab, urgent care. Our surgery center, first surgery center, is there. It's a great location, and it has allowed this physical site to become what it needs to be, and that is an inpatient acute care hospital. So you'll notice that many of our investments have been to create access for primary care, outpatient services, outpatient medicine. This is the only location in this county that is licensed to provide inpatient hospital services. When we say inpatient, we mean admitted to a bed, inpatient surgery, obstetrics, ICU care, an emergency room. That can only be provided at this site. So we've made a great deal of investments to build out that capacity elsewhere in the county. And you've noticed that in Wilton, we recently added a 3T MRI, magnetic resonance imaging, which is, for all practical purposes, the most advanced MRI you can buy right now. It allows us to do many things that used to be done invasively Now it's not invasive. We can look at a screen. A physician can diagnose things that maybe they had to poke things in you before. It's all good, and it really raises the level of care. But that's been a part of a bigger picture of us being available out in the county and not creating a situation where everyone had to travel to this site. Multiple reasons. We wanted to get closer to our patients. And secondly, we really need to keep this site for inpatient services.
Well, you know, and when we talk about, he mentions it just in a sentence, but this equipment investment is in the millions of dollars. I was just adding it up between the investments here and the investments in Wilton, and it was like $14-15 million. And now we have,
and you're not counting all of it.
no, I bet I'm not. You know what? We have a lot to talk about in part two. Really want to talk about plans here, right in Saratoga, and also plans heading north. So we're going to stop down right now, and please stay tuned for part two. To see this interview again, both interviews, please go to our website, looktvonline.com.